Hello, friends. I'm good, and I'm hopeful that you all are good and in really good health. It's important to take care of ourselves in these difficult times and even take care of our loved ones and the nature around us. You know that till date, we all have studied about the concept of social casework and its objectives. Today, we'll be discussing about the principles of social casework. That is, what are the pillars of social casework, which motivates a social casework, which gives a direction to a social casework to proceed in a further direction to help a person in distress. See, I would like to just give a brief introduction about social casework so that things comes to our mind. We all know that social casework is essentially a genuine process. It features certain common elements which can be applied in a number of situations. It is practiced within agencies, usually which are established by legislative action, that are the government agencies, and by the joint efforts of private citizens, and they are better called as voluntary agencies. And a caseworker is employed by an agency with societally prescribed goals. Here, the range of functions of social caseworker is defined by that particular agency. With the support and the limit of such role definition, and with the relevant knowledge of human behavior, along with the skills in helping, which are guided by the principles of social work practice, the caseworkers enters into the client caseworker relationship. And this is the very basic step where a caseworker tries to understand the client as an individual and his problem. So let's move on with our today's topic, that is about the principles of social casework. We all know that principles are rules of action for guiding performance. They act as a guide, as a light for the caseworker so that he is able to help the person in distress, a person in problem, according to the laid principles, according to the laid steps, the process, the techniques, and the skills in casework. We all know that principles simply act as a background. They are like a foundation stone, foundation pillars, which guide the caseworker throughout the process of help. There are certain principles which are being followed in casework. The important one or the prominent ones are the principle of individualization, principle of acceptance, principle of non judgmental attitude, principle of confidentiality, principle of controlled emotional involvement, and last but not the least, principle of client's participation. Today, I am simply going to focus on the very first principle, the basic principle of social casework, that is, the principle of individualization. See, individualization is simply the recognition and understanding of each and every client's unique qualities. Are you getting my point? I mean to say that the principle of individualization is simply based on the right of human beings to be an individual. That is, in this principle, the main focus is on human being as a particular individual with his own personality, with his own potentials, with his own strengths, his own capabilities, his own weaknesses, and he has a right to be treated with all his personal differences and with his all unique qualities. This is actually based on the principle of dignity of a human being as an special individual. We all know that every person is unique in himself. So, this principle is simply focusing on the very fact that whenever a person approaches a caseworker who is suffering from certain problem, here the role of caseworker is to accept the client or the person coming to him as he is, as his own individual behavior, his own individual personality, without judging him on any basis. The caseworker has to accept him as he is. In this slide, I have mentioned that each client is an individual. He has his own problem, which is a specific one. So it's important that the service or the help which is being provided to him should be based on the particular circumstances under which he is living. It's quite simple, and I have mentioned it many times that a lot of people can have a same problem, but their diagnosis and their treatment cannot be one. So, whatever help which is being rendered to the client would be based on the person's circumstances, his own uniqueness, and how well he can manage in his own conditions, in his own circumstances, and can come up with his own problems. So, problem is one, the solution has to be different. Fine? Let's move on. We all know that individualization is based upon the rights of human beings to be individuals and to be treated not just as a human being but as a particular human being with his personal differences. The principle of individualization stipulates that the caseworker tries to relate and to help each client as an individual, that is, as a person in a situation involving a unique combination of biological, psychological, and social forces which is acting on a particular individual, which actually forms his personality, and from where he is able to or he is unable to cope up with the particular circumstances. When he is able to cope up, then things are well and good. But when he fails to cope up, here the interference of social work or with a particular aid to a client in form of casework becomes prominent. Now let's see that the casework method here requires sufficient individualization of client in his situation, knowledge of specific problems, then what could be the possibilities for resolving the specific problems of the person in particular situation. And for doing this, it's very important for a caseworker to have an individualized study and diagnose the problem of the person becomes important. That is, I mean to say, in present times, casework is basically client focused and treatment is given on individual basis. That is through person to person relationship. And that also depends on a large amount on the individual presentation of the problem. How well a person in distress is able to present his problem and then how well the caseworker is able to diagnose the problem. Treatment would solely depend on the way of the presentation of the problem by the client and how well the caseworker is able to diagnose it. Here again, I would like to mention that the role of a caseworker becomes important and he has number of roles to perform. I have just mentioned few ones. These are freedom from bias and prejudice. That is, a caseworker should be free from any sort of preconception about a particular person who is coming from a particular society or a particular caste or gender. He should be like a plain paper on which he is able to write what the client is going to present. Then a caseworker should also have a good knowledge, a sound knowledge of human behavior. He should be able to listen and observe the client. Observation and listening are another important tools which we'll be covering in the later classes. These two tools are very important in diagnosing the problem of the client. So he should be able to listen and observe the client very peculiarly. He should even have the ability to move at the client's pace. That is, caseworkers should be able to adjust to the client's atmosphere and he should be able to make him relax and build confidence in him so that the client is able to speak up freely and he is able to just share all his problems with the caseworker without any interruption. Then the caseworker should be able to enter into the feelings of the people. He should be deeply related with whatever the client is sharing with him so that at certain points he is able to enter into the emotions of the client so that client becomes familiar with the caseworker and he's quite open to share his problem freely. Another important role of caseworker is to keep perspective. That is very important. Balanced emotional involvement is very important. See, caseworkers shouldn't be in a condition where he flows with the emotions of the client and he just sidetrack all the important things which he should keep in mind while dealing with the client. So a balance has to be maintained with the involvement with the client. So these were the important things in the principle of individualization. I think the presentation has made the concept bit clear. If things are still not clear, and if you wish that I should give another presentation, I'll come up with that. Or you need focus on some particular topic, I'll be really happy to do that. So, to listen to the classes, give your feedback. By the time, to take care of yourselves, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay around nature. Thank you.